Hello students, welcome to another video of number theory. Today we are going to discuss the remaining proofs of the three properties and going to take one or two more definitions. Before that, just make one correction in the previous video. After the definition of greatest integer function, we have seen some examples. So in between, third example, x is equals to minus 4.5. So greatest integer function of minus 4.5 is minus 5, not minus 4, since minus 5 is the greatest integer less than or equals to this minus 4.5. Here minus 3, minus 4, then minus 4.5. This is minus 4.5, and after that the greatest integer less than or equals to that x. So x is equals to 4.5. Suppose this is minus 5. Then the greatest integer less than or equals to x. So less than number means the numbers of left hand side. Here minus 5 is the greatest integer less than or equals to this minus 4.5. So greatest integer function of x, that is greatest integer function of minus 4.5 is minus 5. Now we will continue our theorem. In the theorem we have seen the proofs of first three or four properties. Now we are going to continue to prove the fifth, sixth and seventh property. In the fifth property we have given that, or our fifth claim is greatest integer function of x plus greatest integer function of minus x is equals to either minus 1 or 0. Minus 1 whenever x is not an integer, and whenever x is integer, then summation of greatest integer function of x and greatest integer function of minus x is equals to 0. So fifth claim is greatest integer function of x plus greatest integer function of minus x is equals to either minus 1 or 0. Minus 1 if x is not an integer, and 0 otherwise, means whenever our x is an integer. So first of all we are going to consider x is not an integer, that is x is some rational number. Let x to be not an integer, therefore x must be of the form greatest integer function of x plus L, where L is less than or equals to 1, sorry, L is less than 1 and greater than or equals to 0, that is 0 is less equal, L is less than 1. So if we multiply both sides by minus 1, we are going to find the summation of greatest integer function of x and greatest integer function of minus x. So we have x is in the form, now we are going to find the minus of x. Minus of x is equals to minus of greatest integer function or integral part of x minus plus minus of L. Now adding and subtracting minus 1 from this side, we will get this minus x as minus of integral part of x minus 1 plus 1 minus L. This is just a construction to prove our result. So here we get x is of this form, that is x is equals to integral part of x plus L, and minus x is equals to minus of integral part of x plus 1 minus 1 gets cancelled, so into minus this L. Now so if we apply the greatest integer function on both sides, we will get the greatest integer function or integral part of minus x as integral part of this whole right hand side, minus of integral part of x minus 1 plus 1 minus L. Now here minus of integral part of x is a integer, so integral part of integer is that number itself. Again minus 1 is again an integer, so integral part of minus 1 is again minus 1. plus this 1 minus L. So taking separate integral part of this 1 minus L, since 1 and L is the number from in between 0 to 1, that is L is strictly less than 1. So 1 minus L is number less than 1 and greater than or equal to 0. Since 1 minus some number, here L is in between 0 to 1. Suppose if L is equals to 1 by 2, 0.5, then 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5 and integral part of 0.5 is 0. If L is equals to 1 by 3, or suppose L is equals to 0.2, that 0.2 is in between 0 to 1. So if L is equals to 0.2, then 1 minus 0.2 is 0.8 and the integral part of 0.8 is 0. So every case of in L, that is for every value of L in between 0 to 1, 1 minus integral part 1 minus L is in between 0 to 1, that is 0 is less than or equals to this number is strictly less than 1. 1 minus L is obviously strictly less than 1. So their integral part is 0. So this will become minus of integral part of x minus 1 plus 0. This is since this 1 minus L is strictly less than 1. Therefore, this integral part of x 1 minus L is equals to 0. Now, we have integral part of minus x is equals to minus of integral part of x plus 1. Now, adding integral part of x on both sides, we will get integral part of x plus minus of integral part of x. So, and adding this integral part, here we get integral part of x minus integral part of x will get cancelled, is equals to minus 1. Hence, if our x is not an integer, then we will get integral part of x plus integral part of minus x is equals to minus 1. This step is by adding integral part of x on both sides. Adding integral part of x on both sides, we will get our required result. So first case is proved. If integral part of, if x is not an integer, that is if x is rational number, so we will get the integral part of x plus integral part of minus x is equals to minus 1 by just taking, we have x is in the form, since x is a rational number, so x must be of the form integral part of x plus some L, and L is between 0 to 1. So just multiplying by minus side on both sides, we will get this. Just single construction here, adding and subtracting minus 1, we will get this, and just taking the integral part of minus x, we get this. And now here 1 minus L is less than 1, so their integral part is 0. So we get integral part of minus x is equals to minus of integral part of x minus 1, and adding integral part of x on both sides, we will get our final result. Now second case is if x is an integer. Second case, if x is an integer, if x is an integer, therefore if x is itself integer, then by definition of integral part or by definition of greatest integer function, we will get the integral part of x is equals to x itself, and integral part of minus x is equals to, if x is integer, then minus x is also integer, so integral part of minus x will become minus x. Therefore, adding these two numbers, therefore integral part of x plus integral part of minus x is equals to, adding these numbers, adding the left hand sides of these both equations, we will get, we have to add the right hand side. So x plus this minus x is equals to 0. So we get the integral part of x plus integral part of minus x is equals to 0 whenever our x is an integer. Therefore, our result is true, that is integral part of x plus integral part of minus x is equals to minus 1 or 0. Minus 1 whenever our x is not an integer, and 0 otherwise, that is when x is integer. This property may be asked you in the examination for 2 marks. So this is the important for first question in university examination. Now the sixth claim is integral part of x by m is equals to integral part of x by m whenever our m is a positive integer. Now to prove this result, first of all we will write the claim of our sixth property. Sixth claim is integral part of x by m is equals to integral part of x by m if this m is positive integer. M is positive integer. So in the beginning of these proofs we have seen x belongs to R, be a real number, therefore x is of the form integral part of x plus L, and also we have seen the integral part of x is equals to n, so n x can be written in the form n plus L. We have supposed the integral part of x is equals to n. This supposition is for our proof of sixth property. As we have supposed the integral part of x is equals to n, we can prove this result. Here this x belongs to R, so our x is in the form of n plus L. L is in between 0 to 1, so we can use here n is an integer, since n is integral part of x, so we can use the division algorithm to express the n in the form of m cube plus R, this L as it is. We can express n as m cube plus R by using division algorithm, where this R is in between, remainder is in between 0 to m, where we dividing the n by m. Q is quotient, so 0 is less than or equals to R is strictly less than m. This is by using division algorithm. Now we are going to consider the integral part of x by m, that is the right hand side. We will consider the right hand side. Now consider integral part of x by m is equals to, here integral part of x is equals to n, so we can write it as n by m, and n is equals to this m cube plus R, so we can write it as m cube plus R by m. So if we divide this addition separately, that is, first of all if we divide m cube by m plus R by m, we can write it as m gets cancelled, q plus R by m, q plus R by m. So integral part of x by m is equals to q plus R by m. Now our right hand side is integral part of x by m. So here integral part of x by m is of the form, so we can take the integral part of both sides, then we will have integral part of x by m is equals to integral part of q plus R by m. Here q is an integer, since we have seen in the division algorithm any number n can be expressed in the form of m q plus R, where q is an integer, R is also integer. So here q is an integer, so integral part of q must become q itself plus this integral part of R by m. Reason of this step is q is an integer, and this m is greater than R. Here R is less than m or m is greater than R, since our R is less than m, so this numerator is less than denominator. So if you divide the any less number, then our answer must be in the form 0 point something. If you divide suppose 3 by 4, then our answer is 0 point something, so integral part of 0 point something is 0, so we will get q. So we have integral part of x by m is equals to q. This is because our R is less than m. This R is less than m is from this inequality. Now we have integral part of x by m is equals to q. Now if we prove the integral part of x by m is equals to q, then from the both equation we can say that integral part of x by m is equals to integral part of x by m. Now consider the x by m, that is the left hand side, x by m. So x is equals to, we have x is equals to mq plus r plus l. So we get x by m as mq plus r plus l by m. Now similarly we divide this mq by m and r plus l by m, and we can write m plus r plus l by m, q plus r plus l by m. So just separating the denominator. Now taking integral part on both sides, we will get, taking integral part on both sides, we will get integral part of x by m is equals to integral part of q plus r plus l by m. We have to prove that integral part of x by m is equals to q itself. So q is an integer, so we can write the integral part of q plus something is equals to q plus integral part of this remaining term. Now to get the required claim or to required result, we have to prove that this integral part is equals to 0, as our r is less than m and l is less than 1. R is less than 1 m, this r is less than m, as we have seen in the previous part. Also l is less than 1. So clearly we can say that this r plus l is less than m, and we can write this integral part as integral part of x by m is equals to q, since our r is less than m and this l is less than 1. So clearly we can say that this r plus l, this r plus l or l plus r is less than m plus 1. Also our l is less than, for example, so directly I can write it as r plus l is less than m, since for example this is just a rough work. For example, suppose r is equals to 3, then and suppose m is equals to 4. Clearly this r is less than m, that is 3 is less than 4, and the condition on l is less than 1. So l must be of the form 0 point something. So if we add that 0 point some number to r, then suppose 0.9, suppose l is equals to 0.9, here r plus l will become 3.9, and greatest integer function of 3.9 by 4, that is r plus l by is equals to 3.9 by 4 is 0 point something, so 0.9 something. So integral part of 0.9 something is equals to 0, then clearly our integral part of this r plus l by m will become 0. So this is reason behind this. There is no need to write in your proof, this is sufficient. So this is suppose equation number 2, and the previous suppose this is equation number 1. From equation 1 and 2 I can write, therefore from equations 1 and 2 we get the integral part of x by m is equals to integral part of x by m. Also we have seen, we have taken the m is positive integer, m is positive integer. Now our last claim is, seventh claim is this integral minus of integral part of minus x is least integer greater than or equals to x, that is we have to prove that minus of minus integral part of minus x is greater than or equals to x. So seventh claim is just a second, seventh claim is minus of minus integral part of x is least integer greater than or equals to x, is least integer greater than or equals to x. We know that we have the property number 1 as this property x minus 1. Just a second. The first property we have seen that x minus 1 is less than or equals to integral part of x is less than or equals to x. So we know this result x minus 1 is less than or equals to integral part of x is less than or equals to x. By using this result, by using this inequality, we are going to get our required claim. So just multiply this inequality by, or just replace this x by minus x. We will get, replace x by minus x. So we will get this minus x minus 1 is less than or equals to integral part of minus x is less than or equals to minus x. There is no change in inequality. Since we are not multiplying any number by minus sign or not dividing any number, we are just replacing some x by minus x. So there is no change in inequality. So to get the integral part of minus of integral part of minus x, so we have to multiply this number, and after multiplying we will get this greater than or equals to, and this minus minus will become plus. So our result is true whenever we multiply this inequality by minus 1. Therefore multiply both sides by minus 1. So we will get minus minus plus, again plus. So x plus 1 is greater than or equals to minus of integral part of minus x is greater than or equals to minus of minus x is plus x. From this right hand side of inequality we can say that minus of integral part of minus x is the least integer greater than or equals to x, is the least integer greater than or equals to x. Here our result is true, that is minus of minus integral part of minus x is least integer, is least integer greater than or equals to x. We are saying that this is the least integer greater than or equals to x because our x plus 1, so it minus of integral part of minus x is less than or equals to this x plus 1. So after x plus 1 is the next integer, so this minus of integral part of x is in between x and x plus 1. So this must be least integer of which is greater than or equals to x. So hence our result is proved. So any property in between these 7 properties may be asked for 2 marks in the university examination. Now the next topic is arithmetic functions. Next topic is arithmetic functions. Arithmetic functions. Arithmetic functions. So the functions that are defined on the positive integers are called arithmetic functions, that you know in the from the 12th standard. So the functions that we are going to discuss are d of n, sigma of n, sigma k of n, and omega of n, that we will see in the definition. So first of all we will write the functions or definition of arithmetic functions. Or arithmetic functions means the functions which are defined on the functions which are defined on or which are defined for positive integers. Positive integers, suppose n, are called arithmetic functions. Are called arithmetic functions, or these functions are also called as number theoretic functions. Number theoretic functions. number theoretic function. So first function is d of n, small d of n. This function is defined as number of this function is defined as number of all positive divisors of n. Number of all d of n stands for number of all positive divisors of n. All positive divisors of n, or we can denote it by using the summation of 1, or all d divides n, means we are summing or just adding or counting the number of positive divisors of n. For example, if we take, suppose example we will take after the definitions, common example we will going to take. So d of n is the function and defined as number of all positive divisors of n. So we have to count the number. Suppose for example, if we take 10, then 2 is divisor, 1 is divisor of 10, 2 is divisor of 10, then 5 is divisor of 10, also 10 is divisor of 10. So 1, then 2, then 5, then 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 are d of n is d of 10 is will become our 4. So similarly, second definition is sigma of n. Sigma of n, and sigma of n is summation of all the positive divisors of n. Positive divisors of n. So here d of n is the number of total positive divisors, number of all positive divisors of n. Sigma of n is summation of all the divisors of n. If we take n is equals to 10, then 1 is divisor, then 2 is divisor, 5 is divisor, 10 is divisor. So 10 plus 5 plus 2 plus 1, 10 plus 5 15 plus 3 18. 18 is sigma of 18 will become our sigma of n, and denote this the summation of all positive divisors of n, summation of all d such that d divides n. So summation of all positive divisors of n. Third definition, sigma k of n, sigma suffix k of n. Sigma k of n means sum of all kth power of these divisors of n. Sum of kth power, sum of kth power of divisors of n. Divisors of n. Here all are positive divisors. If for example that n is equals to 10, then we have the divisors 1, 2, 5 and 10. Then sigma 2 of 10 means the summation of kth power. So sigma 2 of n means summation of second power. So 1 square plus 2 square, 5 square plus 10 square. So summing all the numbers, we get our sigma 2 of n or sigma k of n. That is the summation of all divisors of n, summation of all summation of kth power of all divisors of n. So next definition is omega of n. Omega of n. Omega of n means number of distinct primes, number of different point or distinct primes dividing n. Dividing n. Similarly, again, if you take the same example, for n is equals to 10, 2 and 5 are 2 primes that divides n. So their number are, that is number of divisors. So 2 is 1 and 5 is 1. So there are total 2 distinct primes dividing 10. So omega of 10 will become 2. So this can be summation of 1 how many times? The prime numbers which divides n. Fifth definition, the last definition of the arithmetic function, ohm of n. Ohm of n. Ohm is notation that you have seen in the physics Ohm's law. So ohm of n is number of primes, number of primes dividing n. Number of prime dividing n, counting multiplicity. Counting multiplicity. Counting multiplicity. So if any prime occurs double, that is suppose 2 is divisor, again 2 is divisor, so 2 square, any number can be written in the form 2 square into 5 into some another numbers, then 2 is occur 2 times, so we have to count the multiplicity, that is we have to add that number. Suppose for example, so example we will see in the common example. So this ohm of n is the number of primes dividing n. Counting multiplicity means if any prime occurs double, then we have to count that 2 again. So this can be written as summation of alpha, that is such that p raised to alpha divides n. We have to count this alpha such that this p raised to alpha divides n. So don't go on these notations or summation. You have to keep in your mind that the d of n stands for number of all positive divisors, sigma of n stands for sum of all positive divisors, sigma k of n stands for sum of kth power of divisors of n, and omega of n stands for number of distinct primes dividing n, and ohm of n is just the number of primes dividing n counting multiplicity. Now we will see the example which will cover all the definitions. For example, if we take, we have seen for n is equals to 10, now we will take for example n is equals to suppose 15, n is equals to 15, then we have to find the d of n. So first of all, d of n, that is d of 15. So d of n stands for number of all positive divisors of this n, that is summation of 1. How many times? Such that d divides 15. Here the divisors of 15 are 1 is 1 divisor, plus 2 doesn't divide, 3 divides, so 3 is again 1 divisor. We have to sum 1 many times. How many times? Whenever our d divides 15, if we get 1 divisor, then we have to add 1 number. Here 3 divides 15, so adding 1 again, now 3, 4 doesn't divide 15, 5 divides 15, so 5 is another one, so plus add 1, 5 divides 15, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 doesn't divide 15, 14 doesn't divide 15, now 15 divides 15, 15, so 15 divides 15, so 15 is another one, so 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus is equals to 4. So here there are four divisors which divides 15, and that are 1, 3, 5 and 15. Those are 4 divisors of 15. So second definition of sigma of n. Sigma of n here, sigma of 15. Sigma of 15 is summation of all divisors of n. Here 15. Here 1, 3, 5, 15 are the divisors. So summation of 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 15. You have to add this sum divisor for sigma of n, not for d of n. For the d of n, you have to sum 1. How many times? Whenever you get the divisor of 15, you have to add 1. So this is just the summation of 1. How many times? Whenever we get the divisor of n, we have to add 1. So we will get the d of n, and we have to add these divisors for sigma of n. So sigma of n is equals to summation of divisors of 15. Here the summation will become 5 plus 15 plus 5 is 23, 24. So sigma of 15 become 24. Now the third definition was sigma k of 15. Sigma k of n. For k is equal to suppose 2, sigma 2 of 15 will become summation of kth power of divisors of 15. Here the divisors of 15 are 1, 3, 5 and 15. We have to find the summation of kth power, second power. So 1 square plus 3 square plus 5 square plus 15 square. 1 square is 1, 3 square is 9, 5 square is 25 and 15 square is 225. So adding these numbers to 50, 9 to 60 is just sigma k of sigma 2 of 15. Now fourth one is omega of n. Here omega of 15. Omega of 15 is number of distinct primes dividing n. So to find all these, functions, that is d of n, sigma of n, sigma k of n, and omega n of n, omega of n, you have to find just the divisors of 15. First of all, just find the divisors of 15, count them 1 2 3 4, this is d of n, so add them, you get sigma of n. If you have to find the sigma k of n, just take the raise the power of this number by k, add with the power of 3 with k, plus again this addition will give the third function. Now find the prime numbers in between those divisors. Here 3 and 5 are two prime numbers, so sigma ohm of 15 will become 2. Which two primes number? 3 and 5 are the two prime number which divides 15. So omega of n, omega of 15 will become 2. And for the fifth one is ohm of 15. Ohm of 15 is just number of primes dividing n counting multiplicity. So if we, so here 3 and 5 are the two primes which dividing n. Here any prime doesn't occur more than once, so here again ohm of 2 is, ohm of 15 is 2. Second example, we will see that ohm of suppose 30. Then 30 can be factorized. Factor of 30 are 1 2 3, then 3 divides, 4 doesn't divides, 5 divides, 6 divides, then again 10 divides, then 15 divides this, and after that 30 divides. So here 2 3 5 are the three prime numbers. If we get, so here ohm of 15 will be 30 will become 3, since 2 5 6 are the three primes which are dividing 30. So here is the definition of some arithmetic functions. Now in the next lecture we will see the canonical form of n and some theorems on these arithmetic functions.